So here we use the definition of the derivative. The limit as x approaches the number 3, and then what is essentially the rise over the run, subtract the two y values divided by subtract the two x values, or the change in y over the change in x. Alright, there's the definition, and now apply that to this function right here. So we're going to have the limit as x approaches 3. First of all, 1 over x plus 5. Next, substitute a 3 in there, so that's going to become 1/8. And then over x minus 3. And as always, we would have division by 0 if we substituted a 3. And if we substituted 3 over here, we would have 1/8 minus 1/8. So this one is 0 divided by 0. So I need to do some algebra, like combine the two fractions on top, get a common denominator, which is going to be the 8 times x plus 5. So this one, multiply top and bottom by x plus 5. This one, multiply top and bottom by an 8. And then we're going to have a compound fraction, still having x minus 3 in the denominator. And then these two are going to have a common denominator of 8 times x plus 5. And as far as the numerator, there's going to be an 8 minus x and minus 5. So that's going to be 8 minus 5 makes a 3. And then there's going to be subtract an x. And we've got x minus 3 and 3 minus x, which will nearly cancel. In fact, they'll cancel if you factor out a -1 from this. So if I factor out a -1, then the x can become positive and the 3 can become negative, which is the exact same thing as this. So to clear the compound fraction, I can multiply both the top and the bottom by 1 over x minus 3, so that these cancel, and then these are also going to cancel, but it still leaves behind that -1. So we now have the limit as x approaches 3. The numerator has a -1, and the denominator has an 8 times x plus 5. And then finally, substitute a 3. This is going to become an 8 times 8 is 64. So -1 over 64. And then for added fun, what we can do is take the derivative of this using some of the shortcuts that we know now, and then substitute a 3 to verify and see if it's right. So we can say the function is equal to, so instead of writing it as a fraction, I'm going to write it as x plus 5 is raised to a -1. That's the same thing as 1 divided by that. And now take the derivative using the chain rule. Oh, we haven't covered that yet. Oh well, I'll just show you and just follow along. So this is the shortcut. You multiply by a -1, leave the inside alone, and now subtract 1 from the exponent. And then we would take the derivative of the inside, which is just a 1, so multiply by 1. And there we have it. So rewrite it without a negative exponent, and it's got a -1 on top, and then it's got x plus 5 squared in the denominator, And the last thing to do is substitute a 3. And so this is going to be 3 plus 5 is 8, so 8 squared. Sure enough, it's right. Sorry, but this is the shortcut method that we're learning in the next chapter.